allegiance to one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. To the people in the back row, if you have something to say, could you speak up a little bit? I know we're having challenges with hearing people in the back, and people in the back are having challenges hearing us up front. So just speak up a little bit if you can, if you have something to say. Roll call.
Marlene Hausler.
Here.
David Hoefling.
Here.
Samantha Pitchford. Here. Dale Majewski.
Here.
Gabe Amberlitis.
Here.
Jeff Haskell. George Gilmore.
Here.
Jack Kleinhardt.
Jack is on his way. He called, he's running a little late.
Okay. And Ricky Fankin.
All right. Can I get a approval of the agenda with the additions?
We've got 3 changes to the agenda. The additions, which is the budget adjustments, which is 12E, budget adjustments. And then number 8, public hearing and special presentation. Tara Johnson is here from the Child Advocacy Center. She couldn't be with us last time. She was gonna be here, so she's here with us today, and I'd like to add her for 9:30. And then, 9C, take off the dive team boat purchase request and report to committee of the whole, please.
Make the motion. Motion made, can I have a second?
Second,
Who was, I'm sorry.
I was.
Thank you.
David made the motion, Dave seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Can we get approval of the Board of Commissioners minutes for February 15th, 2023?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made, can I get a second?
I'll second that as well.
Dave? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. Can we get a motion for the committee of the whole minutes for March 1st, 2023? Marlene, David second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. General public comment. Public comment out there? No comments or anything online at all? All right, communications list. Lori?
Did everybody get a chance to look at the communication list? Does anybody have any questions? All right.
No question? Administrator's report?
There are not any new legislative updates since my last report to you. We did receive a $50,000 grant last week for the camera project for new cameras that are gonna be installed in the courthouse, so, and in the jail. We're excited about that. We did finish, Jerry and I finished everything that we needed to with the Robin grant with Point Broadband for the broadband that's gonna be coming into Clare County. Our audit is finished. That just finished 2 weeks ago. They were here since December. We should have the full audit in April, so you guys will get a report about that in April. If you had not had a chance to review those IT policies that I passed out to you at a prior meeting, would you please make sure that you have those reviewed, because I'm gonna request approval of those IT policies at the next board meeting. And I would like to bring something up here. There's been a lot of discussion and research surrounding the new election laws. And there's been so much discussion about it, you know, at the townships and the county and clerk's office, township clerks, my office. So I would like to propose that as a county, we not only consolidate at the county level, but we also cover the costs through to 2024, all the election costs for the consolidation. So, that would be whatever the townships would be paying for the consolidation. I mean, they still have to be open on their day, correct?
Mhm.
But all the costs for the count, that the county pay for the election through 2024, so that'd be federal and state, we'd have more answers as to if they're gonna be paying, if the state's gonna be paying back any of the costs for mandating this or the law that's changed. We would have, we know how it went, we have a election behind us, we know how it went, so I would really like to, we can refer that to committee of the whole for discussion. Lori and Stacy and I discussed it last night. And would take a lot of pressure off of the township clerks. The townships would take a lot of pressure off the clerk's office. There's gonna be a lot going on. But our office will continue, like Joy will continue to offer help if you guys need it. Jody and I will offer assistance if you need it. But I would like to discuss that, so.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Again, it's really gonna take the cost to the townships, either population or flat rate, however you look at it, out of the equation. It's gonna be covered by the county. It's going to give us 2-year timeline of really hoping that the state, which I think the state is gonna come in and provide some funding. They're gonna have to. There's enough pressure out there that they're gonna have to come in. It's gonna give a little bit of room to the townships. It's gonna take the burden of the cost, initially for the 2 years. And I think that's a plus.
A lot could happen in 2 years.
Sure can. Sure can. And I think it's a good idea. What about everybody else?
I think we're gonna need to give the townships a flat rate that it's gonna cost, regardless of how many townships participate, so that they know what to budget for. I don't think it can fluctuate depending on how many participate. Even if the county has to pick up a portion of the cost, if we don't have enough townships.
We're talking about picking up the cost right now for the next 2 years.
Oh, and not charge the
Not charging
And
township.
not charging the townships at all.
No. No,
And that's run the program, what Lori wanted to run, have everything come up to the courthouse to do the
Yes.
9 days, correct? Okay.
just for the 9 days, and then the townships would have their normal election
Election.
day at their site with their absentee voting, and that's what they do and stuff like that. You just take the burden of the 9-day off of the townships and bring it here. We can get Lori her person that she needs, so she can put stuff in place and to move forward with it. And then we revisit it in 2025 with a lot more information than we have right now and a lot better idea of what we're looking at for costs for that new program and that, so.
And
And
the
it's
fund,
really gonna relieve a lot of the stress off of the townships clerks and that, I think, so. Where's everybody else?
I like the idea.
and the funds will come out of ARPA money, correct? Yes.
Jack, do you have any comments?
Well, I think it's a great idea. I think that'll get us off dead center and we can get moving forward.
Then we'll know more after 2024, after the 2024 election. Lori mentioned last night, she just really felt that, and Stacy, that the townships and the county really could work together, to make this happen through 2024. And then we'll just cover the costs and figure out what it is
Yeah.
as we go.
And it really gives us a chance to also have a direct benefit to the townships with that ARPA loan too. It's something that we can reach out and help out each township in the county. Now, you can still choose to do the 9-day thing on your own if you like. That's totally up to the clerks of the townships, but this way, there's gonna be no money involved for the townships for this initial startup, so. for 2 years.
That's all I have.
Just a quick question, Susan Brower from Reading Township. Would that mean that there would be no contract in place until 2025 after we have a better idea of what this is gonna cost everybody?
That's right. Probably the only contract is if you want to do it on your own. You would have to probably have something agreement there. But other than that, no.
Bonnie Blackledge, Winterfield Township. I'm just curious now, is this something you will be voting on? Because you kind of all gave your opinion, but you'll have to vote on doing it this way, correct?
Yes.
And when will that vote take place?
Well, you could discuss it at committee of the whole
Yep.
and then vote on it at the next action meeting. Or you can make a motion to do it.
Yeah, because I'd like to have Lori off here.
Yeah.
So we have that discussion with her about the costs, et cetera, when it comes to that additional employee. I think it's a great idea. I agree with you and those that have supported it on the board. There's a reason to have her in here to discuss it fully, then talk about those intergovernmental agreements for any townships that do not want to participate in the consolidated voting at the county level. I think we're not prepared to vote on it today, but I think that we need to discuss it again now that this proposal has been made, and then take it to the next board of commissioners meeting for a final decision.
If I could, the costs, in terms of the costs, they're gonna remain the same for what it would have costed when we split them out and decided to break down the pricing for the townships. But that I completely understand what you're saying about having Lori here. The other thing is that there may not be a contract, but there still would be deadlines requiring knowing who's participating in the consolidation. So we would still have to put those into place because I think we've explained this before, it can take up to 5 months to prepare, 5 to 6 months to prepare for one election. So we would have to know who is going to participate and who is not going to participate by certain timelines. But
Yes, your point is well taken and agreed to on those timelines. My point about the costs is knowing what the state would pay if you bought it.
Yes.
So knowing how much our portion would be, how much the state would pay. Exactly.
So then we'll put it on the committee of the whole agenda. Discussion.
Gail, I understand the state's still working on the rules and the things they want to do, so it's a little premature for us to move ahead too quick
Right.
because they could change the whole way that it's set up. Would have thought they had time to do that, but
Yeah.
haven't.
Yeah, they're still working on it from what I understand. You have a question?
Yes, could you all speak up a little bit more, please?
Okay.
We can't hear you, couldn't hear what Jack had to say.
We're working on that. We do have a sound system coming.
Right. All right, so this is, we will take that to the committee of the whole and have a discussion again, and if everything goes the way it sounds, it's gonna go to the full board next month. So that'll still give us a time for a decision prior to the end of April, like Lori wanted, so that'll give us more than enough time to put that into place, but it sounds like general consensus, everybody is for that change too. And, I think it's a good thing. So. All right, any other discussion on that? No? Michelle? Greater Lansing Food Bank?
Good morning.
Welcome.
How are you?
Good.
Hey, I'll try to use my outdoor voice so everyone can hear. Well, thank you for allowing me some time on your agenda and to introduce Greater Lansing Food Bank to all of you. You're probably wondering why something called Greater Lansing is up in your county. So I'll explain that a little bit today, but I wanted to share with you what the food insecurity rates or the hunger rates are up here right now as well. Or Jody, do the next slide, please. So we have existed for 40 years. And we merged about 10 years ago with another food bank called Mid-Michigan Food Bank. They covered the upper counties that you see here. And that's why we now have 7 counties that are part of our territory or our region. Within those counties, You will, as you probably know, there are a number of organizations that we work directly with. So I'll explain the difference between a food bank and food pantries or agencies that are right within your county in just a minute. Jody? So food banks are actually a warehouse and distribution center. We try to procure as much food as we possibly can, either by purchasing it, by getting it from the USDA in some cases. We get it from retail stores who donate it. We also get it from just general food drives, people in the community that hold them for us. And then we can store large quantities of the same type of food for organizations that are on the ground serving people directly to then order from us. So on the next slide, you'll see that we distribute that food through partners that are right on the ground in your communities. It could be a school, a church, a nonprofit organization. And we also, as you see in the picture here, we also hold mobile food distributions in all of our counties, multiple ones. There's actually one up here in Clare County at 10 o'clock this morning, so that people can come and drive up in their vehicles, and the volunteers that you see here will load that food right in a person's vehicle. So what does it, oh, this is just a quick slide of where we receive our food from and how it's distributed out. And that's in your packets as well, so I won't go through that exactly today. Here's where it comes from, and the next slide is where it goes to. And then I want to talk a little bit about what food insecurity means. And I will say that this is a term I didn't love when I first heard it, because I think people are all secure about needing food, right? It's a basic need. But it's the term that's used kind of generically around the nation now for those who are hungry, the people who are in hunger. What it really means is that a person is without reliable access to a sufficient amount of affordable and nutritious food. So it's not your stereotypical person that some people think of, that, you know, somebody just doesn't want to work and that's why they are food insecure. 80% of the people that we serve are actually employed. They have a couple of part-time jobs that they're trying to piece together, or they're a senior citizen who is on a fixed income, or their children. We have a lot of homeless students that are food insecure simply because of the homelessness that they are incurring. But there's a direct relationship to things like chronic health. So if somebody doesn't have the nutrition that they need, it's going to impact their health. And that directly affects those in the community. It affects legislators like you, because it impacts the county health departments, and you end up taking care of more folks because of the nutritional component that they don't have. It also, as you know, impacts a student's ability to learn, and it impacts a person who is employed's ability to work or be productive on a job or to hold a job. So it really affects the economic and social mobility of your residents as well. So let's take a look at what your Clare County food insecurity rates are. The average across the nation is 10%. So 10% of residents are normally considered food insecure. Up in Clare County right now, actually these are 2022 statistics, we are up at 19.3%. So we're higher than the national average of counties. That's not uncommon for a rural county. During the pandemic, we were at about 19.5%. And that dropped down for about a year as people were receiving economic stimulus dollars and the like. Once those dollars went away, the food insecurity rates shot back up again, and we're close to where we were during the pandemic, unfortunately. So we are working really hard with our partners, and I'll show you those in just a minute, to make sure that we're getting as much food as we can distributed out through Clare County for those residents. So in January of this year, we track every single month what the number of households are that come out for food through all of our partners. And in January, we had an increase over last year, January, of 29%. So almost 30% increase in 12 months. So we're seeing those numbers tick up again. And we know that at the end of February, so the 1st of March, all of the economic dollars that were going onto a person's SNAP card or bridge card, those extra pandemic dollars went away. So we know that we're going to be seeing an even more increase in the number of people who are food insecure because of that. I'll give you a quick example. A senior citizen during the pandemic was getting about $130 on average a month for food benefits. Between $80 and $95 of their benefits will be going away. So they may only have about $35 of SNAP benefits on their cards starting March 1st, starting this month. And those are folks that we are extremely trying to reach in a very, very big way, because obviously they're a very vulnerable population to start with. But $35, as you know, doesn't go very far for food, especially nowadays with the increase in food. I put a breakdown of, oops, I'm sorry, Jody.
That one?
I'm gonna go back.
Okay.
Yeah, I put a
Sorry.
breakdown on here also of some of the subpopulations of those folks who may live in your counties based on race, based on nationality, based on some other status, just so that you can see how different those populations are when you start breaking down individually what the food insecurity rates might be for certain populations. Okay. Here's our increase. Okay, next slide, please. We talked about the SNAP program. Sorry, I wasn't keeping up with you, Jody.
Oh, that's okay.
And
Next
then
one.
on the following slide, you can see the organizations that we are currently working with right in your county. The Clare Community Pantry, Mid-Michigan College, Compassion Counts Food Pantry, the Hero Center, that's the one that has the distribution this morning. We do children's backpacks distribution up here. We would love to work with all your school districts to make sure that the children have weekend food kits to take home with them. So if there's anybody within the school districts that aren't mentioned here that we could connect with, please let them know and we would be happy to reach out to them. We also work with some gardens up here. We distribute Garden to Go seed kits every spring. We send those up on our mobile food distributions. We also work with some residential sites so that we take food directly to folks who are in low income housing or some senior sites. We also do some in other counties, we do the mobile home communities. So if you have any connections to any of your mobile home communities, please direct them to us and we will try to set up a program directly for those folks as well. Okay, next slide. All right, this shows you how much food came into your county through Greater Lansing Food Bank and our partners last year. So we produced 878,000 meals for residents in your counties. And that is a little over 1 million pounds of food. And if you do the math calculation, which I did for you, you'll see that it's about $1.85 million that folks who were food insecure were able to save because of the food that was distributed through this partnership, through this network that we have with the organizations in your area. So it's really a very significant input for your county, and we are very happy and proud to be part of that network. One little anecdote, during and prior to the pandemic, there was a lot of food that was coming through USDA, through retail sources and other places. And that was coming for free to Greater Lansing Food Bank. And then we were able to distribute it out for free to all of the partners. Because of a lot of reasons, but primarily the food supply chain disruption, we aren't seeing those free products come as much to the food bank, and we're having to purchase a lot more. So on the next slide, you will see there's a pie chart of the amount of food that was coming in from USDA, that's in the orange part. It's part of the agriculture bill that is it's being negotiated right now again in Congress. And we used to receive about 30% of our food for free through USDA. We're now down below 17% of food that comes from USDA. They simply can't get the food because of the food supply chain issues to turn it around and get to the communities as well. So there's a lot more purchasing going on throughout the network. And of course, food is more expensive. So we've had quite a challenge the last year to keep up with the demand and the amount of food that needed to be purchased, but we're doing it. Next slide. I just kind of covered this one. These are the reasons behind why the food supply chain is still off. You'll see, you know, things like the war in Ukraine, where 40% of the world's grain comes from. That really impacts food supply chain. We've only had a couple growing seasons since the pandemic, and as a farmer's daughter, I know how, you know, the importance, obviously, the weather in Michigan. We only can grow for certain amounts of time. So we haven't had a lot of growing seasons in the United States to produce more food. Trucking and shipping, that was off, as we all heard during the pandemic, and is still not back where it was before the pandemic. So things like that really are affecting the food supply chain. You're seeing it on the shelves as well. Not all the products that you normally would buy at a grocery store are there yet, but we are getting better, and there's hope. And then my final slide. So what can we all do? I always remain very, very hopeful. I wouldn't be in this work if I didn't. I think because I'm a farmer's daughter, it drew me back to this type of work of making sure people have food. And I'm very proud to be serving in this role. But please share this information with your residents. There's a couple of resources that all residents can take advantage of. There's the SNAP Helpline. And I see the number's not, it is on there, but it's very, very faint. It's in a light blue color. So that number is where anyone can call to get assistance signing up for SNAP benefits. I'll just read it off quick if you can't see it. It's 888-544-8773. And then we have a pantry locator on our website. That's glfoodbank.org. So people can go right on, it's a little map, and you just click on the map and you can open up where you live, and you can find the closest food resource to where you live. And it's by county. So that's another way that people can find where they can find food closest to them. We are fundraising like never before. We are doing food drives, and I encourage all of you up here to do that for your particular pantries that are up here as well. And then spread the word. If there's any funding that you all come across, whether it be grants or whatnot, that can go towards food, please let us know, or any of the pantries that are up here in your region. That really does go a long way. We purchase things wholesale, and the leverage that we have, we can get food a lot less expensive than just going to a retail store to get it, to distribute back out to the community. So that actually concludes my presentation. Again, thank you for having me. I just wanted to come up and sort of introduce who we were and how we work with the groups that are in your county. I'm pleased to take any questions if you have them. And always feel free to reach out to us if you're in need.
All right. Thank you, Michelle, for the information. Question?
Yes, sir. I'm Kelly from Hayes Township. Any of the USDA stuff, is that any agriculture based funds, or is it just food source only?
No, it's the majority of it is actually agriculture based. And we actually have a program right here in Michigan where we can, dollars are set aside to purchase from Michigan farmers specifically. And so that's a program that was started here in Michigan by our state legislature. It's now in 31 states across the nation because it works so well here.
Is there any incentive funds for the community gardens in local areas?
Yes, there's funding, and there are resources. So we can work with, we actually have a team of folks who are garden experts, agriculture experts, who can work with community gardens to get those off the ground, or to help improve them, providing seeds, providing seedling transplants and things like that.
No, I saw that, or I heard you say something about seed packets and stuff. Are the seed packets that you distribute compatible with the, like we have a lot of trees here, so obviously we don't get much sun in every garden I've tried. I've grown like 4 pumpkins and a couple squash, and I can get corn to grow or anything, strawberries. Are they compatible with the growing conditions here,
Yep, I'd be,
aside from the growing seasons?
sure, I'd be happy, actually, probably the best way to handle, to help address that is I'll have you talk directly with our team who knows agriculture very well to determine which seeds are the best ones to grow in that type of either soil or, climate or wherever you're trying to grow. And I can pass along my business card to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I have one more question. On your $1,053,900 of funding or whatever, how many residents is that distributed out amongst?
I would have to get that number for you. I don't know exactly how many households specifically declare, but I could grab that number even, I'll have one of my team members do that before I leave today.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Kara?
Okay. Sorry.
My name is Tara Johnson, and I am the executive director at Northern Michigan Alliance for Children, most commonly known as the Child Advocacy Center. And so I'm here just to kind of share what we do and why we're here. We don't have a lot of voice. So I'm here to share like why we're here and what we do. I spoke recently at a meeting and somebody asked me, why are you guys even here? And so it was really eye-opening to me that we need to tell our story. We need to be out there more because the data that I'll show you, it speaks for itself. It shows us exactly, it shows the community exactly why we're here. So what is a child advocacy center? And basically, to sum it up, it's a place where children are heard. It's a place that children who have been abused, either physically or sexually, can come and tell their story. And the unique part about a child advocacy center is that a child doesn't have to repeat their story. We bring all the professionals to the table, so the child only has to tell their story once. And when I say we bring the professionals, we bring the law enforcement, the prosecutor, child protective services, medical team, anyone that would be a part of this case, we bring them together. And I'll show you, I have pictures of kind of how, what exactly this looks like. But that way, the child's not repeating the story to law enforcement. The child's not repeating the story to the CPS worker. Because you think about that, is when the child tells their story, if they get a certain reaction from one of the, let's say, law enforcement, they may not tell that part of the story the next time because they didn't feel comfortable. And so here we have a trained interviewer that will interview the child and get all the questions that the whole team needs once, instead of having that child speak multiple times, because that's very traumatizing to the children. They're being very brave to speak up the first time, and so it's hard to ask them to continue to tell their story and to keep talking about it. Can you go to the next slide, please? So our model is, it starts with one brave young person coming forward, one courageous adult speaking up on the child's behalf. The goal of our model is to ensure that no child is bounced around in the system and that no child falls through the cracks. So our team, we call it our multidisciplinary team, works with the family through the entire process. Our team meets monthly to be able to make sure that these children aren't falling through the cracks, to make sure that our advocate that we have on site is working with the family through the court process, making sure that the family is aware of the court process, and that anything that is needed for the family that is communicated, so it doesn't fall, the child or family doesn't fall through the cracks. We bring in all agencies involved in the investigation of child abuse and work together on the behalf of the child, just basically so that the child and the family are never alone, that they're not alone through this process. We're here to walk them through, because it's scary. These children come to us in their most fragile state, and so we need to make this, the children and the parents, as comfortable as possible for them. Next slide, please. So like I said, we provide a child-friendly place where they're comfortable telling their story. Our interviewer is great at being able to make the child feel comfortable and not just pressing them for the information. She's trained to be able to get the story out without just saying, hey, why are you here today? Or hey, tell me about what happened with so-and-so. So we have a really unique way of doing that. And basically, the biggest point of the Child Advocacy Center is the model of just the child telling the story once. And so if you look at the next slide, it kind of shows exactly how, like, without the Child Advocacy Center, that child in the middle is telling the story, you know, multiple different times. They're telling law enforcement, they're going to the court and telling the prosecutor, they're telling the doctors and CPS, whereas here we have a child focus in the middle and all the teams come to support the child. And it works. It works, and we have such positive feedback from the families going through this process. You know, they're struggling as it is, and then to not know where to start and how to go through this process. They have somebody, we have a family advocate that will walk them through the entire process. So the why, 91% of our victims, 91% of our children know their victims. And that's, many people just assume that it's this notion that it's some scary guy in a white van. No, these, the abusers are, they know the victims really well. 1 in 7 youth will be abused in their lifetime, and 1 in 10 children by their 18th birthday. And so we see this in the numbers through the pandemic and post pandemic, the numbers are just increasing. It's the stories we're hearing and the number of children coming through is astronomical. Change to the next. Another why is it's more common than you think. It can happen to anybody. It doesn't discriminate. It can happen at any age, any race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation. It happens in single parent homes, married homes, religious backgrounds. And basically the point we're trying to drill is that it's more common than you think, and it can happen to anyone. It doesn't just discriminate to lower income or to a certain nationality. It happens, we see all walks of life. And so the biggest thing that I want to share is, so we serve Clare, Gladwin, and Missaukee County. So I did pull some data for just Clare County. And through we use a lot of the Kids Count data. And so in 2022, Kids Count put out that Clare County, their children involved in investigated families is up 267% since 2010. 83 counties, out of 83 counties in the state of Michigan, Clare is ranked the second highest in child poverty. And then Clare and Gladwin counties, we serve both Clare and Gladwin counties. They rank second, Clare is second, and fourth for the worst of Michigan's for the worst of Michigan's 83 counties for confirmed child abuse neglect cases, which is, so Clare is second to Wayne County, and we all know Wayne County is huge. And so those numbers right there are why we're here and why we continue to do what we do and to keep our doors open and to push for funding. We're nonprofit, so we do write grants till our fingers are numb. And so, and we will continue because these children need help. Clare County has confirmed victim rate of 38 victims out of every 1,000 children. So that's exactly why we're here. That's when that gentleman asked me, why are you guys in Clare County? He was kind of annoyed that I was speaking, but when I shared that, his face was like, oh, yes. And so it's important for us to share our story because many don't know this.
Is that poverty rate Wayne counties or is that?
No,
Clare County?
that's Clare County.
That's Clare County
Yes,
poverty.
yeah, the only thing about Wayne County was,
Just no idea.
yeah. Yeah, and so this quote I always like, because I always wondered why someone didn't do something about that, then I realized that's somebody. So the point of my message today is really to educate you guys and to be that somebody for somebody. If something is not feeling right in your gut, trust your gut, because a lot of times, like we said, a lot of times these children that it's happening to, they know their abusers. So a little bit about what we do. So we have intervention programs. So our intervention program is the forensic interviewing. So you can see the very colorful, the rug with the couch. That is our forensic interview room. And then our team sits in the other room. And so it is broadcast. Our interviewer is able to interview and then it's broadcast in, and then she can speak with the team to say, okay, can you elaborate on that? Or can you ask the child to speak further on that? And then the law enforcement and the team are able to meet with the family afterwards too, so the family can walk away and have their questions answered. And then our family advocate, again, will sit with the family the entire time and then continue to meet with the family, continue to walk with the family through this whole process as needed. One of our prize possessions is Trigger in the middle, so he does canine advocacy. And it's exciting to have him because just the demeanor of the building, you know, the stuff we deal with is tough, and to have him there just as, you know, just as a calming factor. And so the kids love him. He's great with the kids as well. So intervention program, our next one is prevention program. So prevention is very important for us because we have to spread and educate. And so we work in all of the local schools. We provide school programming to first and third graders in Clarence Island County. And then we're also starting a pilot program for sixth grade. We'd love to be in all grades because we know it's important in all elementary, middle, and high school because we know the importance of it. And so we're getting there. The schools want so much more, but we have to be able to have the funding and the employees to be able to provide. So it is a goal of ours to expand into the high school as well. We also provide different opportunities for parents and caregivers. We offer a mom power group, fraternity of fathers. And one I really want to hit on is Darkness to Light. We are happy to come in to speak to any organization, whether it be even just like a church group, the people that deal, you know, that work with kids. And this Darkness to Light really teaches you the signs of what to look for and how to properly, because many times like we may know, but we don't know what to do. And so this free of charge, we'd love to come to speak to any organization or any group that works with kids and kind of just teaching the signs and where to go from there. And then our last one is we do have mental health on site as well. So we have clinicians that once the children come to our center, then they're able to receive mental health services as well. We use play therapy, we use trauma focused cognitive behavior therapy, and we use the eye movement as well. And so these kiddos and the non-offending caregivers are able to receive services free of charge. And then many people ask, how can I help? And really just being aware and just watching your surroundings. I think it's important because you'll start to notice things. And we use the acronym STOP IT, basically setting boundaries that could be with your own children or others with your children. Talk to your kids. It's really important to talk to your kids. My kids will tell you they're sick of talking about it because I ask them all the time. But really teaching them to use the proper terms as well, because we've seen it where the kids will use different terms and then it goes unnoticed, you know. And so teaching the proper terms, observe, really just be aware of your surroundings, prepare of how you would respond. Kind of think about like, if this was to happen, what would I do? Trust your instincts, because really your gut feeling, if your gut is telling you, most likely it's right. And talk to your community, get the word out. So that's one of the biggest ways we can ask you to help us through this. And I like this quote as well. It says, "You may choose to look the other way, but you can never again say that you didn't know." And so if you suspect, at least report, please. And then the last thing is April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so you'll start seeing our pinwheel gardens pop up around, and then the blue lights. And if you would like to put a blue light in your house or your business, please contact us. We have tons we'd love to give away, and just to show our support throughout the community.
You know, I first heard this presentation at Greenwood College. And it was such a shock, and it was hard to believe that Clare County was
Number two.
it really brings into focus what is going on.
Yes, and now that we know this, how do we combat it? We're actually having a community needs assessment done right now, and it's almost complete. And then we'd like to present the data that we found about Clare County, because what we think may be helping may not be. And so then we'd like to bring some community partners around the table. What can we do now that we have this full data of the town, of the Clare County? What do we do with it, and how do we combat it? So we will be reaching out, asking for community partners to that as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I do
Thank you, Tara.
have flyers as well, so if anybody would like to have them.
How long how long has this been in Clare County that the advocacy center has been open? I know
Since-
I was at the Clare Fire Department when I think you had your grand opening. Was you running it then or somebody else?
No, it was not myself. We've been since 2014.
Since 14.
Yes.
I know you're getting new and better ways of identifying these victims and that, but you see it getting worse, not better?
Correct.
Is any idea why that would be happening?
I don't have an answer to that. We have speculation, especially through the pandemic, funds are tight. But I believe people are more aware, and that's why we're seeing more, because before maybe it went unreported. And so now that we can share and we can really get our word out there, I do feel that people are sharing more. I think it's always been happening, but the pandemic could also increase that because it was a stressful time. It still is a stressful time. Funds are tight. She spoke about food insecurity. So I don't have a full answer for that.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Poverty level. Well, you think that has a lot to do with it? I mean,
Absolutely.
let's just talk frank here.
Mhm.
More jobs, more industry, more opportunity.
Mhm.
I would think that would be,
I do agree with that, yes, as well. But we see all walks of life too. The people we walk through the door are not all low poverty. So, but
I
I
get
do
it.
agree
I get it.
that, when times are tough. Yes.
You there's mental health services,
Mhm.
are those available for adults or like
So
somebody that
our,
would recognize that they had a problem in themselves or something that could come forward without?
if you did qualify for our services, as we do, because we're grant funded, we do have strict guidelines about.
I don't know,
our
it's a lot of mental illness up here.
Yes, there is a lot, yes, absolutely, but to qualify for our services is to have some sort of abuse in your,
I got it. My other question, would you guys be interested like, with the lady with the food bank and doing a community garden project or like a community like chicken coop or something, looking at eggs or and a volunteer
Mhm.
and operate
Yes,
with volunteers?
one of our big pushes that we did notice through the data that we did through the Legacy Center for our needs assessment is our numbers increased during the summer. And so how do we really tackle that? What does that look like? And maybe just, so our goal this summer is to really be more involved in the prevention.
Maybe you can look into gardening or like raising chickens for therapy benefits too.
Absolutely.
Do you have enough funding to be able to operate like you would like to?
No, like you said, the mental health piece is, so there's a mental health crisis in general. And so hiring clinicians, for one, is hard because everybody wants to work virtually. But to increase number of clinicians, yes.
What's your main source of funding?
We get a lot of funding through the state.
Through the state of Michigan, through
Yes.
DHS? and
Yeah,
that?
yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
You should have one of those.
Oh, He didn't even, I was looking at it, I didn't even count it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving on to justice. Rick, did you?
Justice Prosecutors / State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services contract. Motion to approve the contract is presented in the committee of the whole between the prosecutor's office and the state of Michigan. Department of Health and Human Services an amount of $80,000 through the remainder of this fiscal year, at which time it will be renewed at the rate of $100,000.
A motion, can I have a second? Any discussion? Now this is, fully funded, Michelle, correct? There's not gonna be any money from the county that's going to have to intervene with this at all.
With this contract, we do need the ability to hire another attorney, which is what we discussed at 65,000. So the contract would help offset what the county would pay for that position. But like I pointed out, if we sign on to this contract, it is a caseload. We think it's important that we do the work. We think it's important that we're involved and as DHHS's attorney. But the four of us can only handle the extra load for so long. So we need to have the opportunity to start looking to bring another attorney back on board to help with that. So that would be an additional cost to the county, but the contract itself would not cost the county. Does that make sense? Or am I answering your question?
Yeah, to a point. That's
What did I not get?
okay.
Okay.
So the amount, the 80,000 amount, that's gonna cover the cost of the new attorney?
What we bill, yes. So we bill the state of Michigan, and it's at a rate of $175 per hour. And then there's a penetration rate back into us, so we'll ultimately see $43 and some change out of that $175 an hour back into the county. But an attorney hired in at the $65,000 rate is going to have less than $43 and some odd change per hour as their hourly rate. Because what you pay me only works out to be a little over like $46 an hour for my work. So somebody paid at $65,000 is getting paid less than that $43. Right?
So this attorney will specifically be handling cases like Tara was explaining in that, or?
Yes, we all will handle the cases. We'll all share the burden of these cases because the HHS needs attorneys available. So if they call after hours, they need an attorney who is on call. For us to handle emergency hearings, it's going to be whatever attorney is in the office to go handle if there's an emergency removal of a child. You know, they have to have a hearing within, I think, 24 hours of the removal. Whoever is present and able to staff the courtroom at that time will go handle the case. So they're getting all of us for the price of that contract, but in addition to the other three courts that we're working in, with the juvenile delinquency cases, the adult, criminal and district and circuit, we need to have 5 attorneys to cover those.
Okay. And how are your cases? Are your cases up in your office or down?
They're staying pretty steady, we fluctuate, depending on how we close a bunch of cases, so now we're on Monday, so now we're kind of down a little bit. But we also have more that have come in that are required for review, so it stays anywhere between 800 to 900 cases.
Michelle, with this contract, is it like the intergovernment contract we talked about? They can opt out at any time, or is this a solid 2-year contract where they have to use this for the 2 years?
There's a clause in the contract that says either one of us can opt out of the contract. But I've had a lot of conversations with the new director that is here. And I am aware of why there is a push to come back to our office. I don't foresee them leaving and pulling out of the contract, and then we rebid it for the next fiscal year.
Okay.
So if we find that it's not working out,
Mhm.
come September, we can opt out and not re-sign on the contract, but I don't foresee a circumstance where we wouldn't stay with them.
But by that time, if you lay off the attorney, you're still gonna end up paying unemployment and there's gonna be cost to the county
Why would we lay off the attorney?
if you don't have the contract anymore.
And that's a discussion that we had at that time.
Questions, can you hold them till public comment? All right, does anybody else have any?
Yeah. Michelle, I realize, I know why the state would want to push this off. It must be best for them. So tell me, what advantage would you have or Clare County have by taking that contract on? And then, I've been here a long time and I've seen that contract before and I know what happened when they just pulled the plug for no reason, or they didn't explain it very well why they did, and left us with a pretty big hole in our budget at a time that we were struggling to make payroll here a couple years ago. So I'm a little bit cautious about wanting to enter into another contract with those same people because they just, pulled the plug and said, work it out yourself.
I appreciate your frustration. I was equally frustrated at the time that that occurred. But here is what we've seen. We have previously been involved as DHHS's attorney in child protective proceedings. So those are proceedings, for those of you that don't know, is when children are either removed from their home or DHHS is going into the home to provide services to a family for a myriad of reasons that fall under the child abuse and neglect statute. Okay, so it could be, something with dirty houses, not sending their kids to school, or it could go to physical or sexual abuse. Generally speaking, what we see the most of is the physical and the sexual abuse. And that's when kids are removed from their home and placed into a foster care home while the parents are going through services. And so when we were involved as their attorney, we knew about that case. We knew about what they were doing within that case. And oftentimes there's a companion criminal case that goes along with it. So with us being the attorney for them, we had access to that information, access to the information we had on law enforcement. It made it a stronger case for us because we had that information. We could help direct services that might be needed. We could make decisions in criminal cases and say, okay, well, maybe we don't need to proceed criminally on this case with this individual because we have enough going on in the DHHS case to ensure that everybody is protected and this is the best way for this family to proceed. Or we could say that we need to go forward with criminal charges and we go forward with the child protective case. We are at the table on behalf of that agency and our agency. We're at that table in the MDT meetings that Tara just talked about. Without us being their attorney, DHHS does not have an attorney or a seat at the MDT table. They don't have access to all of the investigative materials in their cases that they would need. They have to have the court order the forensic interview to be supplied to them and in their case to be used. Whereas we would already have that information. So it's a better system. It's a better way of protecting our children. It is a better way of handling these cases for us to be involved in both.
I might have asked you before, how many counties take part in this, that work for DHS?
Probably about half of the 83. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Okay.
Why did they pull out of their contract last time?
They wanted to go with a private attorney and there were some issues with the current director that they had and she has since been gone.
Any other questions?
It wouldn't be a contingency plan if they do pull out of the contract.
For us,
Yes, for us.
well, we would have to look at what the finances are at the time and we may have to lay somebody off. That's always,
It's a
a
possibility.
possibility.
But I want to also refer you to the case management study that we took part in with the Prosecuting Attorneys Association. And we are, based on our caseload, we should have 7 attorneys in our office based on caseload standards, and we have 4.
handling the work of what seven are supposed to do. So even if you add a fifth one on with or without this contract, I've been asking and seeking to have that vacant position filled because we need it in order to make sure that we are not just looking at our case files like, holy crap, I've got a jury trial next week that I get my jury instructions done. Are they filed? What are the motions that I needed to file? Well, you can't continue to burn out your people and expect them to do good work and to have a successful outcome. Right? And so when we're constantly going from fire to fire to fire to fire with four of us, it would help to have that additional person, period. But taking on these cases, we certainly would need the additional person.
Any other questions? No discussions? All right, roll call vote.
Ricky Bacon,
No.
Marlene Hausler,
No.
David Hoffling,
Yes.
Samantha Fitchburg,
Yes.
Dale Majeski,
My decision is based on the children, yes.
Dave Ambrositis,
Yes.
George Gilmore,
No,
Jack Kleinhardt.
No,
Four split.
Well, within a tie, the motion goes down. Okay. Motion goes down. Jack, you handle the next one?
motion to approve the contract with Mid-Michigan College as presented in committee of the whole in the amount of $69,200.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Jack, Marlene seconded. Any discussion?
Is this a new attorney? Or, I'm sorry, a new deputy?
No, it's just the contract. The report that got an increase from the college, so we had to amend the contract.
All in favor?
I,
All opposed? Motion carried. Dive team boat purchase has been moved
Yep.
down the agenda.
Excuse me, sorry, on board. During the meeting, I received word we may lose the vote. They may not hold on to it. Is there any way we could still address that today, please?
Sure. We want to move it back into.
move to amend the agenda.
Yeah, you have to amend the agenda.
Oh, I would second.
Okay. All in favor of the change?
Aye.
Opposed? George. All right.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so to give you the history on, from my side, from the Homeland Security side, which is what we're using 2 grant years to help the sheriff's department purchase this boat. We began planning this project back in 2021, right out of post-COVID. And because of supply shortages and everything, we were trying to get out ahead of this project because it was gonna take a long time to get anything, accomplished with a project like this. The project, what we did was combine 2 grant years at the time. We were combining FY20, and our grants, forgive me, because in federal grants, our grants are always 2 years behind. So when I talk about FY20 grant, the FY20 grant is closing out right now. It'll be done by the end of the month, even though it's FY20 and it's 23 now. So anyways, we're gonna take FY20 and 21 and combine them together to help the sheriff's department purchase a boat at a cost of $44,061.25. I submitted all the AAFs, which I have to do at the state federal level. back for FY 2021 back in April of 2022. This is how far back to get them approved. I also had to submit a what's called a watercraft waiver to FEMA to get the boat approved in May of that year. And that FEMA approval did not come until December, just before Christmas of 22. So it took that long. It took from May to December for FEMA to process that watercraft waiver. So we lost all of that time. The FY 20 deadline for our projects, for submitting any new projects, was December 31st of 2022. So that meant I had to know by basically the 1st of December whether the boat was potentially going to be manufactured and be here by the time that closure date happened on December 31st. Otherwise, all of that money would have went right back and we would have lost there all the money. We would have gotten no money for FY 20 at all. So I put together a supplemental project of 800 megahertz radios, which Sheriff's Department's radios are failing quickly, the old radios that are not repairable anymore, and did a $19,000 and 41 or $19,041 radio project, submitted that before the December 31st deadline. That got approved. And those radios are right now in process. They're already at the state of Michigan for programming. They should be ready within the next 2 weeks for delivery. So that saved that money. We didn't lose that money. So what I did then was move that project to FY 21-22 grant years. So FY 21 is the current one that we're in. And the FY 22 money will not be available till after June 1st because we haven't even approved the budget yet at the Homeland Security level. But it's already been approved as far as the AAF paperwork goes. So by doing that, we took FY 21, which is $16,238. And then FY 22 is $15,364, which gives a grand total of $31,602 available for the Sheriff Department then used to get a boat. And then they would have to make up the difference because that's all that would amount to for those 2 grant years. So so anyway, the FY 22 again opens June 1st. We can actually apply for reimbursement for that money for the 16,238 at any time right now because that money is available. But again, June 1st as far as the second round, which is 15,364. So anyway, that left a difference in $12,459.25, according to all the figures that I was provided by the Sheriff Department. So because we're required to, and we have to, because the way these grants run together, we have to plan up to 3 years ahead. So not only are we working with basically 3 different grants right now to try to get this, to provide the money for this project to them, but also we're now planning in FY 23, which that money won't be available or until the end of 24, even the first part of 25, to finish equipping the dive boat with the side scan sonar and the ROV package and some other things that they needed for the boat, because we're using multiple grant years. So we're already looking at planning that part of it. When Bill Sharp approached me, the head of the dive team back at 21, the glaring problem was we had been purchasing dive team equipment for up to 5 years before that with Homeland Security money, but they had no boat. They couldn't even put their people in a boat. They didn't have a boat to put the dive team in. So it became imperative that we get that project off the ground. That involved the Sheriff Department making some commitments, with boat manufacturers, suppliers, to say, hey, can you get a boat built? Well, yeah. So the boat project again started in 21 and now is finally in 23 in March is finally going to be coming available. So I also asked Detective Sharp to get 2 more quotes, which he has done. So we have 2 more quotes that are available for the boat project. But since this boat is custom manufactured with the bracketry, the specific equipment and stuff that they needed, it's very difficult for anybody else to kind of go out there and try to manufacture a boat to fit those needs. So that's in a nutshell, and I'm glad to answer any questions.
So it is so special. I mean, there must be a lot of these boats around for dive teams all over the United States, isn't there?
Not really, because of the supply chain problems we've had for 3 years now and still have with getting stuff manufactured. you know?
Yeah.
Buying something off the lot is just, you know, you would probably spend twice this kind of money. I'm estimating, I'm not a real boat person, but, you know, you probably spend twice that kind of money to get a boat custom, you know, built from, with just a shell.
Yeah,
So, I think it would be a lot harder to do than what, you know, might be thought. could be
okay,
done,
so just so I understand this, what's the change? We approved this, didn't we, during the committee of the whole, didn't we? To buy this boat?
No, it hasn't been, it has not gone to the committee of the whole.
Jack, I think you, during all the COVID stuff, I don't know if you got to that point.
Okay, so, well, we talked about the boat here just recently, but anyway,
If I may, I owe you guys as well. From our end, what's happened is, when Jerry and Bill came to me and they said, is there an option to come up with the matching funds with Jerry's grant? Some of you in this room know, I've never come to you with a project and just asked for money. We come with solutions. What we would like to propose, if you guys would consider our outgoing fleet. We have 2 boats right now, technically 1. The second one is out of service. A county our size with all of our lakes should never have less than 2 boats. Lord forbid, you guys know, the sheriff's mandate for recovery, if we had drownings in the north and south end of the county, we didn't have a second boat. That's why I know it's very expedited, and I appreciate your patience in hearing us out today. But as we price out the rotation of the existing fleet, if you look at NADA, Kelly Blue Book, it looks like we would get about $36,000 from rotating our current road fleet out. On the low end, we already have a commitment of $29,587 from Chicago Motors. That would get us our almost $17,000 back. When you look at the quotes, one declined to bid. Another one was a little bit cheaper by about $900, but the one I would ask you to go with is the local vendor. He has rode this wave with us for the last 2 years to get us through this, and he's the only local vendor. So we appreciate your consideration on this one.
So you got 2 other quotes today,
Yesterday.
yesterday. So we didn't have these at the committee of the whole last time.
No, we apologize for that, Gabe. What happened was we got word after you guys had met, okay, this boat is available if you guys want it.
I appreciate that the boat is available. There's a boat available down in Mecosta County too, that's the exact same boat, minus the $2,000 custom work. The problem I have is that we're violating the purchasing policy that was set in 2017. And I have a requirement, as the members of this board do, when we look at the purchasing policy, to assure taxpayers that the county is receiving maximum dollar value for expenditures with one sole source, as your document says. And I appreciate that it's a local vendor. I'm all about making sure that local vendors are taken care of. But our purchasing policy says that we have to have multiple bids sealed over 20,000. That's my contention. We have a problem here. If we move forward with approving this, we violate our own purchasing policy that's in set since 2017.
Problem we have, guys, the procurement to have a boat ready to have 2 for the summer season. With all the lakes that warming up, I'm concerned, honestly, and I apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused. It is kind of a unique one. We've done a lot of projects much larger than this with you guys.
But this is a
Just the
crisis.
timing.
Is it a crisis?
Yes,
It's a crisis.
yes.
Okay, so why have we not been working towards this? Why are we just hearing about this now and bids as of yesterday?
We had for 2 years, unfortunately, the timing when one came available and you guys had already met. I understand where you're coming from as far as committee of the whole. Sometimes these projects are about timing. To get a boat of this magnitude with Jerry's contribution and us only giving $17,000, that's unheard of.
Any other questions?
There is a question.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss the
Yeah.
motion.
Motion still on.
Was it, it was never read.
Add it to the agenda.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there wasn't a motion
That was
to actually
approved.
purchase.
That was
it.
already approved.
That was already.
So we were just in the discussion after the change, with the presentation. So. Any other questions?
I have a question. Would they be able to sell the old boats and make a profit from that to add to it? Would that help?
It's rotting. Not my specialty on that one, guys.
Okay.
I've been told maybe $1,000 if they're lucky, but nothing a public safety entity would be able to use.
Yeah, what about assembling the volunteer rescue service within the county of boat owners? Here, take the dive team.
Did you hear Mitch?
Yes, we currently have a multi-jurisdictional team, police, fire, they're welcome to be on it. There are training standards, who's gonna pay for it, those kinds of things, training requirements with the team. If someone were interested, we would always be willing to meet with somebody later, but that's outside of right now.
That's some of like the local private boat owners.
No, not
this. Have a craft, you know, so. Yeah, no.
One of the requirements of the grant too on Homeland Security is that boat has to be available also to our neighboring partners.
Right.
So if Mecosta County calls up and says, hey, we need your boat, your dive team urgently, it has to be able to be deployed. So that's part of what's in the,
You know-
EAF and the grant process.
You know how many times that has happened? How many dives did you make this last year?
I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah. I would have to actually check with the dive team. Yeah, I mean, they train, actual call outs. We have had a couple over the last couple of years.
I believe there were 3 bodies last year.
Yes, and you guys know for us, the problem is one's too many. If you have one, you better be prepared. And again, Lord forbid, we had one in the north and south end of the county at the same time.
I understand the urgency, but going back to Gabe's point is, I mean, if that's our rule. If you do one for one, we gotta do it for everybody. I mean, that's where I'm struggling. I see your urgency. I know you need that need, but you go back to that. I mean, fair, firm, consistent. I mean, if you have to wait to the next meeting, I mean, what does that do to your grant?
It's the boat.
It's, I mean, for the
The
boat.
vendor said they're not gonna guarantee they're gonna keep it for us to have it if we wait. And I just found that out, sorry, as you guys were in the meeting. And I understand totally what you're saying as well, Rick. This is one of those projects that unfortunately started during COVID and it didn't quite get off and running. So we are playing a little catch up on it.
That's where I'm struggling. I mean, it just,
The grant expires. at the
In
end
our
of May.
discussion earlier, yeah, the grant doesn't expire till May 31st. So I think as far as.
Right, so now the question is about the boat.
Yes.
Right.
So Dwayne and I did have discussion about this yesterday, and the day before, about the process and ensuring that the proper procurement process is followed. So, you know, we have had discussion about that.
And we will be very mindful of you guys in the future.
Yeah, they will make sure everything goes through my office.
I've come to you guys for much larger projects than this and we've never had hiccups. So I apologize for that inconvenience, but I do view this one as an emergency.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? If not, I'm looking for someone to make a motion.
There's,
Would it be possible for a location within a town to do a donation? Or someone that has boat they could donate?
I can't buy used stuff from Homeland Security money. It has to be-
So to use Homeland,
That would be
what
out.
Jerry was saying, to
Yeah.
use Homeland Security money, it has to be new, it can't be used.
Yeah, this was spec'd out.
And then what about the specific donations for the need of a boat? And I think that that's allocated to all residents here in the county. If there's anything that says that we can take it for life.
Dale, I would move to purchase the dive team boat with the specifications required by Homeland Security grants in the amount of $48,375.25, with the $31,602 coming from Homeland Security grants and $16,773.25 coming from the general fund.
I will second.
Okay, motion's been made by George, seconded by David. Any further discussion? Have a roll call.
George Gilmore,
Yes.
Jack Kleinhardt,
Yes.
Ricky Bacon,
No.
Marlene Hausler,
Yes.
David Hopeling,
Yes.
Samantha Fitchburg,
Yes.
Dale Majewski.
No, based on our policy.
Yes, have it.
Yeah.
You asked
You didn't
Dave.
ask Dave.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Dave. Dave. Amber
No.
Davis. It's 5 yes and 3 no.
Okay, motion passed.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
We have nothing on health and human services, nothing on physical resources or development, finance, administration. Is it Jack? You wanna take that?
We're down to finance, okay.
Yep.
Motion to approve statutory finance committee meeting minutes of February 21st, 2023 in the amount of $145,658.92 in the minutes of March 6th, 2023 in the amount of $140,227.91.
Motion's been made, can I get a second?
That's pretty big numbers for me to read.
Motion's been made by Jack, seconded by David. Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, vote, please?
Jack Kleinhardt,
Yes.
Ricky Bacon,
Yes.
Marlene Hausler,
Yes.
David Hopeling,
Yes.
Samantha Fitchburg, Dale Majewski,
Yes.
Dave Ambrosino,
Yes.
and George Gilmore.
Yes.
Motion passes. George, you want to take it?
Sure. Motion to approve the expenditure of the month of February 2023 in the amount of $3,718,233.61, with the general fund expenditures totaling $999,897.14.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by George, seconded by Dave. Any discussion? Can you get a roll call vote, please?
George Gilmore,
Yes.
Jack Kleinhardt,
Yes.
Ricky Bacon,
Yes.
Marlene Hausler,
Yes.
David Hopeling,
Yes.
Samantha Fitchburg, Dale Majewski,
Yes.
and Dave Ambrosino.
Yes.
Motion passed. Dave, you want to take this one?
To approve the monthly expenditures for January 2023 for the front of the court in the amount of $35,678.12 and animal control in the amount of $32,910.41.
Seconded.
Been made, can I get a second? George?
Yes.
Any discussion? No? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
It is a roll call.
It is a roll call?
Yes, it's money.
Oh, okay, yep, roll call please.
Dave Ambrosino,
Yes.
George Gilmore,
Yes.
Jack Kleinhardt,
Yes.
Ricky Bacon,
Yes.
Marlene Hausler,
Yes.
David Hopeling,
Yes.
Samantha Fitchburg, Dale Majewski,
Yes.
Budget adjustments are next.
Everybody?
That's everybody.
That's everybody? Motion passed. You want to do this one next? So, Samantha, you want to do this?
Me? Yeah.
23-65, 23-70, and 23-71, and $27,205.09, $124,555.92, and $59,565.49.
Second.
Motion's been made by Stan, seconded by David. Any discussion? No, roll call please.
Samantha Fitchburg, yes. Dale Majewski,
Yes.
Dave Ambrosino,
Yes.
George Gilmore,
Yes.
Jack Kleinhardt,
Yes.
Ricky Bacon,
Yes.
and Marlene Hausler.
Yes.
David Hopeling.
That would be David. David, you want to take C under financial administration?
Motion to approve resolution 2305, affirming Clare County Board of Commissioners support of constitutional rights, including right to keep and bear arms, opposition to unconstitutional laws infringing upon that right. I'll second.
Motion's been made by David, seconded by Dave. Any discussion? Well, can I get is that a roll call too as well?
Yes, with the resolution.
Yeah, can I get a roll call, please?
David Hockling,
Yes.
Samantha Fitchburg. Yes. Dale Majewski,
Yes.
Dave Amberzaitis.
Yes.
George Gilmore,
Yes.
Jack Kleinhardt,
Yes,
Ricky Jenkins,
Yes.
Marlene Hausler.
Yes.
Marlene, can I get you to take the resolution for honor and back?
Approve resolution 2306 honoring the Michigan Association of Counties and their 125 years of representing Michigan counties.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Marlene, seconded by David. Any discussion? Can I get a roll call vote on that?
Marlene Hausler,
Yes.
David Hockling,
Yes.
Samantha Fitchburg. Yes. Dale Majewski,
Yes.
Dave Amberzaitis.
Yeah.
George Gilmore,
Yes.
Jack Kleinhardt,
yes.
Ricky Jenkins.
Yes.
Is it a motion? Clerk's report.
I don't have a report. I believe that Lori is online, but I don't know if she's prepared to provide a report either. Is she raising her hand, Jody?
Nope, she's not.
No? Nothing? Treasurer's report, is Jen out there?
No treasurer's report.
No treasurer's report? Okay. Chair report, vice chair report, just been attending my meetings. Like I mentioned, the presentation that Tara gave was an excellent presentation that she gave at Green Township's meeting, and I thought that it should have been brought to the board so that we could, I think, get some more exposure to it and really bring the light of what's going on. So it's an excellent presentation. That's all. So other than that, that's all
I belong to the transit committee and they have just finished an audit, which went real well. And just been attending my township meetings and they're going great.
Dave?
I'll keep things short. Over the last month, I've been talking to my townships, and they've had very valid concerns about the consolidation. I feel that today we made pretty good progress, and I know we have a lot of work ahead of ourselves, but
I just attend my meetings, everything's been pretty quiet, no complaints about the roads.
yes, there's continued complaints at the road commission as well about the roads, but it's springtime, frost laws. There's gonna be a lag in the time it takes for the road commission to address those roads, as we all know. Secondly, Lori and I have traveled to Lansing for a meeting with the Bureau of Aeronautics. That went very well. We met with the chairman of the Michigan Aeronautics Commission. They're gonna send a team up as soon as the leaves fill out on the trees, do another assessment. We were unaware that there was an assessment made in 2020. We don't have the full copy of that assessment of the airport. So they identified a couple things that we need to work on. It looks promising and we'll continue to monitor that as we move forward. Other than that, there's nothing.
George?
We too had complaints about the road and the road commission. I think that's pretty common for this time of year. Other than everything's going great.
My townships that I met with, the big concern was the voting, and I think we addressed that today, and probably they're gonna be happy. hear that we stepped up to the plate. And, yeah, the roads on the townships that I represent are rural and lots of muddy gravel roads. That's,
Mike, oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
My turn. Hey, I just want to remind everybody that the festivities in Clear this week is St. Patty's Day, happy week, so come down and enjoy the festival. And I want to touch base on the roads. I've been called by several people about the roads. It's not only the spring, it's been fall and summer. There's a lot of concerns about the lack of maintenance. I really think us as board members need to do our due diligence and have the road commission come in and talk to us what they're doing, so we can go back and report to people. I mean, because there's a lot of concerns, even this fall and the summer, that the roads were not maintained. So I think we should have the road commission come in just to talk to us and tell us what they're doing to maintain roads, so we can go back to our constituents to talk.
First of all, they got a lot of turnover at the road commission, a lot of new employees.
Mhm.
The other thing is that when you see a plow truck with a straight blade that's patching a gravel road per se, that's not considered maintenance. That is in essence emergency maintenance, where they're fixing a specific spot. They've got two new graders with a big, huge device on the front that pulverizes the road. Then they have the grader with a maneuverable blade so they can re-crown the road. And then they have a roller on the back. So unfortunately, I have two graders. There's over 738 miles of gravel roads. So, I go to these meetings, and I don't want to sound partial to them, but I've heard what they say. I understand that they have constraints and limitations, the amount of money, the amount of manpower, the amount of equipment that they have. So everything that I've heard since January, when I've been attending the county road commission meetings, that they're doing as best as they can with what they have. And there are some people that are going to be, last on the list, and that's primarily because of the type of road, the amount of people that live on that road, et cetera. So, I mean, they have to make some decisions in prioritizing the amount of time and effort that they can put to the road.
One main questions I have here is about the quality of the road gravel they put on. Before the new manager, they were using the pit run, the Eberhard gravel pit, which is pretty much the sand and rocks. Then a lot of questions is, what are they gonna do to fix those roads that they use all that pit run on? That's what the main roads are having problems.
Well, they're also having some supply chain issues as everybody else is. And the other problem is that the amount of gravel, the gravel road materials just went from 50,000 a mile, a lane mile, to 100,000 a lane mile. So the prices are now exceeding what they anticipated. So they've got their road projects for 2023 and they're working on 2024. But now they're gonna be worrying about the budget, ensuring that they've got enough money to cover all these projects because of the increases in costs to all the materials.
So this is good information that we need to take back to people. I just think that because we do oversee them, and just have them come in so everybody knows on the same page, so we can let people know.
Yeah, they just held a gravel workshop that I attended. It was a 3-hour workshop down at the road commission where they explained how they do those roads. So that would be a great presentation for all of us to at least get a copy.
Yes.
So we understand it. Dwayne is very good at explaining it, how these roads are, not only are they getting pulverized because they're being used, but then you have to come back and try to catch up with it with the maintenance. So there's a lot of work that they're doing. But I support your desire to have them come and brief this board, because I think it would be very, very beneficial for us to take that back to the constituents.
You not only have the people that live on those roads, you have the delivery people that use those roads. And our mail carrier has been told by the postmaster not to go down those roads that are bad. They're tearing up their vehicles and that. You have FedEx, you have UPS, you have school buses, you have police officers.
Garbage trucks.
You have
MMR.
You have all of those vehicles that have to get to some of these people. Now, if you live on a blacktop road in Clare County, you're pretty happy with what's going on, because they do a good job of removing snow and they do a good job of taking care of those blacktops. But by them taking on all them projects that they are a mile a year, they each township, they offer them, we'll do a mile of road. Well, it's impossible to build 16 miles of road, and the maintenance is not out there. I don't care what they say. The maintenance of them gravel roads. Now, maybe we need to tell those people that, you know, you got what, you live out in the sticks, so you gotta live with it. I've watched the maintenance get worse and worse and worse over the last few years. I don't care what they say.
I've got something to add if I could.
Public, can we hold it to public comment? It'll be just a,
Okay.
is that all, Rick?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. State of the county budget.
So as of today, we should be approximately at 54% on the budget remaining till the end of the fiscal year. And currently, we're at 61% of the budget remaining, so we're doing good. And I did just start the 2024 fiscal year budget, so hopefully I'll have that, like to have it done by June instead of September. I'm not waiting until September this year, so. But that's all I have for the state of the county budget.
Good. Public comment?
My issue was, you know, I'm the chair of the Republican Party of Frederick County. And when I was vice chair, I sat in our meeting and I heard Dave Coker from the road commission specifically tell Dick and Connie Kleinhardt that, and myself, if you bought a house on a dirt road, you know what you were getting into. Well, no, we didn't, because I pay taxes. And so if I went to every household up and down my street and said, don't pay your taxes to the county anymore, we're gonna put it toward our road and pave our own road. You know, how would that feel? But, you know, I know it's not realistic, but you know, we pay taxes. I've even called the road commissioner and said, you know, I would like a little bit more attention to our roads. I end up having the MMR call all the time. And one of my neighbors, Vito, is in the hospital right now, or he's actually in rehab because he had his brain crushed. And just so happened, it was one of these days that I was having a seizure and they had to call 2 ambulances out. And thank God they were at my house 4 houses away when they had to get to him because his head was crushed by a sheet of concrete. And so it takes 10 minutes to drive down 0.3 miles of a road to my house. It's that bad. And half the time people are driving down my road, taking out people's mailboxes because they can't drive down the road. They got to drive down their front yard. And so it's sad, and I would like you guys to have the road commissioner come in and talk to you guys, because I thought that answer to us was ridiculous. But at the same time, I go out all the time. I'm on the road constantly now, and I don't ever see the salt trucks out, barely if I do. And so if that could be done, that would be really nice to have it come in front of you guys.
It's something we can discuss, definitely. Another question?
So the gentleman over here said that he talked to the road commission and they said something about pit run in the roads, and then Gabe brought up gravel. So that's 2 different entities. Gravel is 23A. It's a clay compound with small rocks. When I say small rocks, it's like pea gravel and a little bit bigger. That's generally used for fixing roads and putting in roads. We use it in logging all the time to create trucking roads because it's got the clay base and it packs. And then when it packs, it doesn't push out easy. Pit run is sand and rocks this size. So which one are we using? Is it cost of, huh?
23A.
I don't mean to interrupt, but if the first gentleman that spoke could provide his name,
Mark DeYoung.
thank you. And then the second gentleman.
Larry Siska. So you're saying that it's the 23A?
Pretty sure
He
it's
said
23A.
Pit run, so which?
I don't believe they're using that anymore. I think
No.
it's all
The
23A.
Okay,
pit runs from the previous management that used it on the road, so
Oh, pit run's horrible. That's why all your roads are washing out and it's garbage. We don't even use it to build a trucking road for a temporary.
They're
road on
not
logging.
using 23A for patching.
I don't know exactly what
Yeah,
they're
they're
using for
using
patching.
pit run for patching.
Pit run is sand
I
and
don't know
rocks
that to
this
be a
big.
fact, Jack.
They're
But
using,
those are, if you're not aware, those are questions you need to ask the road commission. Which one are you using and is it cost effective? Is that, if you're using pit run, is that why it washes out and I gotta give you another 50 grand to go buy more?
Right,
You know,
those are questions that we can ask definitely, the road commission.
It's all I have.
All right, anybody else? Question?
Just a comment, Deb Hoyt, Hayes Township Clerk. I had the opportunity to attend Michigan Township Association Legislative Conference last week. There were over 200 people attending, and I would say about 70% of them were clerks. I shared the information that our county clerk and our board of commissioners have been preparing and actively working to provide guidance and assistance to the township clerks. And they were amazed. Their county clerks are saying, nope, we're going to sit back and wait until they give us guidance. No, we're not going to take it on, you're on your own. I sat with one clerk who's been a clerk for 1 month, because when proposal 22 passed and they realized what they had to do, the previous clerk said, I'm done, I'm not doing this. And this new clerk, 1 month there, has had no guidance. So kudos to the Board of Commissioners for listening to the clerks. Kudos to Lori Phelps as county administrator for working with the department heads to help all of us clerks navigate the unknown, really. Bureau of Election was there too. There needs to be some state legislature passed for guidance. So the state has their work to do. Bureau of Elections has to revamp all of the software programs to meet the demands of implementing proposal 22. So I just wanted to share with the board that thank you, and other counties are not being proactive. So as a clerk, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deb, you were in here earlier when we were talking about what we were proposing to do.
I was not, I was at a board review meeting for a few minutes.
We'll fill you in after the meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
My name is Pat Adams. I'm the president of South Cranberry Lake Homeowners Association. I have attended several road commission meetings. I don't know, you'll know this better. Is 22 better or the 23A better?
Look, there, I don't know, I've never heard the term 22. It's always been 23A.
Okay.
It is more expensive, but
Okay, the township, I mean, the county just upgraded their gravel from what it was to either 23A to 22. I don't remember which way it is. Also, I know for, in all my rounds I've been going through and everything else, because nobody's happy with their roads. It's the gravel roads, and I understand that. I understand the tenure and everything else. Went to a meeting, they had the dirt that came in that when it was frozen on the ground and when it melted, it had so much liquid in it. There's townships that have no funding. We have millage in Hayes Township, special millage for road work. There's townships that don't have it. The meeting I attended a little while ago, the county says that the state had not sent out, have granted for extra money for road repairs on any local ones. So is there difficulties with the roads? Absolutely. Have I seen them? I've lived up here since 2015. Have I seen improvements over them? I have. Do I agree with the way they assigned how the roads were being cleaned in the wintertime? I went to there, I talked to them. I still don't agree specifically the way they do it, because for an example, a subdivision like mine, we have 237 plots in there that taxes are being paid on. Whereas a primary dirt road in the town, in the county, that has maybe 7 houses on it, has a priority of getting done before the 237 in the subdivision. I understand their reasoning and why they do what they say. I don't agree with it, but I will complain if there's things that I don't see right, but I have seen improvements from the County Road Commission, and they do have their commission meetings online. So if you're not able to attend it, you can go to the, go online and listen to it. And they've had, like you're talking about the gravel seminar, there is a link to that you can watch, because I watched it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I'd like to address Mark for a minute. You know, I've got a neighbor who's 80 years old. He's lived in the same house his whole life. So you could tell the person that told you why didn't buy out there, move out there, he was born there. He was back in the days when the supervisors controlled the roads, the township supervisors. So that wasn't a very good statement to
I
run by
agree
me.
100% with you. It was said to your cousins,
Well,
because Dickin County were having issues with their road out there, and they asked Dave Coker what they could do, and he said, you know, and I issued the same response to him, that we had issues with him and Mark coming down our road, and he said, well, let me tell you this, did you guys know you bought a house on a dirt road? Well, it's your issue. And that's how we were addressed by the road commission in the Republican meeting. So I thought it was very rude and not right. So, but that's why I said, bring them in front of you guys and let them answer why they're serving the people this way.
75 or 80 years ago, we all bought roads
Yeah.
or houses on gravel roads because that's all they were. They did a good job of updating some of these and turning some of them gravel roads into blacktops. But there's going to be some people that could live here for 75, 80 years if they're a baby, and they're never going to get off a gravel road. So don't they deserve to have at least a blade truck come down it now and then? That's it.
All right. Any other? Okay, no unfinished business? No new business? That's it?
Smile a little bit, it's not that bad. It's a smile a little bit, it's not that bad.